All right. So, hi out there, everybody. We're trying something new. This is very exciting. It's called Untethered Talk with Robin Thomas at 2 o'clock. We're late, but hey. Anyway, you guys know Robin by now, right?
Hi.
So we thought it would be really, really fun to get together on Fridays and just discuss something interesting.
Whatever happens to be up at this moment.
More or less. The other day I was texting with Robin and I said, it's funny. I've realized that I can feel an emotion. Like I'm physically feeling an emotion, but I do not feel it all connected. Like in my brain, I'm not feeling it. What's up with that? And she started, and I was like, wait, this is better for Untethered Talks. So let's do that. So Robin.
Well, so I think there's a difference between, so you can feel an emotion, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to become like a part of you. And I think that's what you were I think the distinction you were talking about the other day is that like you can, when you feel something and it kind of overwhelms you, now you've identified with that feeling. This is who I am. I am this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder to like get space or distance from it, as like it's not simply something that you're experiencing to go through. Energy and motion is emotion, or is it something that's defining you? And so a lot of times the emotion gets stuck inside of us because we don't let it just flow through like emotions. I mean, it's just supposed to just flow through like a wave. And so it gets stuck. And so then we get mired in like, I am this. I am sad. I am angry. I am frustrated, whatever, as opposed to I feel this thing.
Right.
I know you've talked about that a lot, actually. Right? That is a really big deal. But when you're in that feeling, it's almost impossible to understand the difference. It's almost impossible to understand that you're not sad. You just have a sad feeling.
Yes.
And it does threaten to engulf you, and it does threaten to overwhelm you, and it does threaten to flood you. And all of those things help make it then harder to just be present with the emotion as it is and allow it to just come into your heart and flow. And so when you said that the other day, I was like, oh, that's awesome, because you're in this emotion, but you're not like, it's not of you. It's not who you are. It's just that you're in this emotion.
That is, yeah, I definitely am working on observing the emotion versus, like you're saying, identifying with it, because I'm one of the biggest identifiers with emotion that I know. I'm like, and it's like, no, you're not. You're just emotionally volatile. That's all you want.
Do you remember that scene in Beaches when someone says someone asks Cece Bloom, right? She's like, who is Cece? And she's like, Cece feels things deeply. She's a deeply feeling person.
Oh my God. I think I saw that when I was like, I don't think I was like I had more years than like 2 digits. And like, it was just like, that's so embarrassing. But yeah, I remember that distinctly.
Yeah.
That's exactly, yeah, that's me.
And that's why, that's truly, my ex-wife is that way. Exactly. Like Katie is such an emotion, and my daughter is that way. She's a mini Katie. They're both so emotional. They're both just so volatile in their emotions, but that also makes them so incredibly empathic, and it's one of their powerhouse. It's one of their superpowers, is that they can feel deeply. That's part of their job in the world. That's part of your job in the world, is to be a deep feeler, right? Like if you don't get reduced to tears once a day, you're not living your purpose. A deeply feeling purpose.
It's true. It's hard because when you have this, I don't know, functioning nervous system or whatever it is with me, I'm walking down the street and I can think a sad thought, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's so sad. Right. Like it's not even, I mean, like I can think about that, that Folgers commercial. You know the one, right?
I do, absolutely.
At Christmas time?
Yes.
Bawling every time, just thinking about it. I'm like, Peter!
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So going back to this, so identifying with emotions. Yes, but there's also this thing that I've noticed that I have a hole. Okay, good. You can see that. I have a hole in my armpit of the shirt.
I can't see
I have this thing that I've noticed, like when I met my biological mother, right? I I was like, oh, I must be nervous, but I didn't feel nervous. And yet I got to the, not to get too real here, but I got to the bathroom and it turns out I was nervous, like really nervous. And it's like, I physically feel this, but I am not at all. It didn't register until
What
something physical happened.
is that so I guess my question to you is that is that because you that's your natural state, so you didn't necessarily recognize it as anything different because your natural state, you have this sort of frenetic energy, and or were you so out of tune with your feelings that you couldn't address it or identify it until it happened physically?
I think that's what it was. Like these days, there's a certain thing that apparently I'm angry about. But I don't realize it until I start like talking about it, or I do the whole conversation in my head thing. And then all of a sudden I'm shouting at someone in my head and I'm like, like apparently I'm angry, but I really like just going around day to day, I don't feel that.
Okay. So I think, Jen, that you spend so much of your time out of your body that the only thing that gets you into your body is those deep emotions, right? That it does have to happen physically. And I would bet a lot of money that it's because you feel so deeply that you escape because it's overwhelming. It's like there's a flood of emotions that happens and it's so scary that you just don't you just go out. You just find the escape hatch.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah. You know what? A lot of people do that. A lot of people actually do that, or they get into that hyper control mode, or they get into that like just like push through whatever that defense is. We all have them. We talked about this a little bit last night, but like we all have a defense that's going to prevent the emotion from coming in because that feeling is scary, because it's overwhelming, because it's flooding, because when we were kids it was a powerless feeling, and that's terrifying. So it's like we spend most of our lives trying not to feel it. We just really don't have, we spend most of our lives, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. Like we have all these systems in place so that we don't feel bad. Right. So yours are so powerful that your mechanism is to escape it because it's being here is so too much. And I think as you learn to come into your body more and as you learn to regulate, those emotions aren't going to flood you as much. You're still going to feel the same depth of feeling, but it's not going to be so scary because you have ways to navigate that.
Because of you.
Because you're doing the work with the help of a teacher
Yes,
who can help you with that.
And I very much recommend that to everybody out there. Like I'm trying to help you guys, but really I'm just kind of stumbling through. And so this one right here is probably the one to talk to. But yeah, no, it's the very, I think that's accurate. Yeah, because yeah, no, think like going back through my head, there's moments in my life I've had where I'm like, I don't feel this, but my body is
right.
telling me that I am.
Right. So the more time you spend in your body, the more time you spend grounded. Like grounding for you is going to be really important. That's actually what's going to help you be able to be less porous, is to be grounded and spend time in your body.
Now here's something that I think maybe people, by people I mean me. But if there are people, the purpose of me doing the Untethered stuff, right, is to try and reach out to people who feel something similar to what I feel, so they can get through it too. Absolutely. Like you were saying, there's an element of identity that's there. I mean, I have been such an emotional person for such a long time. Like it's never not been that way.
Right.
You know, like ever.
I remember when Kate and I were first dating, And now, I mean, we met, she was 19, so she was really young. And I was much older than she was at the time, but I remember like we would be totally fine. We would be like at a party or something, and then she would just burst into tears, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what just that? Like, what? It came out of nowhere. I was like, what is this? Like, it would just like, she would cry her heart out for like, it was like a 5-year-old. And I was like, what did I miss? Right. And sometimes it was just that she was tired or she'd hit an off button, right? Whatever. So like, I know I've lived this. And like I said, my daughter is the same way. And it at first it was like I can see how people in your world maybe would have been like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Everyone.
so I can probably imagine that that has been something like that's been a source of like consternation for you because you were never allowed to be that person that you were. And it is a little bit of like a dysregulated system, but it's because you were never actually allowed to be the emotional person that you were. And so now it's all over the place because you're still trying to fight against that being that you are.
You hear that, people out there? That's a good one.
So it's really about integrating that this is who you've always been. Like, you're really this emotional, sensitive, super empathic soul. That's why you're here on the planet.
I like that. I like having a purpose. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Everybody who's watching this, because sooner or later I'm going to get them all to come over to the page. Everybody who's watching this, that's something to think about as well. I mean, those moments, I know that when I was in the darker moments, there was, not that this is totally off subject, but there was like an article in Teen Beat I remember reading like as a teenager, and there's like a little, it's those advice columns, and it stuck in my head. Like, one of the people writing in, like a teenager, was feeling suicidal, and the response, it's something in it said like, death is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yes.
And I carried that since, like, every time that I felt like, I'm like, you know what? That is a permanent solution.
Right.
It's a temporary problem. Like, no matter how bad, how long it went on for, that was like a thing. But also in those moments, the other thing that I was able to tell myself is like, this is your story. I don't know what the point of it is. Like, I have no idea what the point is, but something is going to come from this.
Yes.
Like, one day I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to that place and be like, oh, that's what it was.
Yes, exactly. And every single one of us gets there. Every single one of us gets there eventually. We figure out why everything has happened the way it did for us, not to us. And then we get to that place of like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start a Facebook show.
Right. And that actually might be true, right?
I believe that.
You're here because you're such a deep, amazing emotional feeler in a world that hasn't for a long time valued emotions. We are just now at the place where we're almost at the 100th monkey, where we're almost at the turning point of like people starting to get it, that our feelings are what's going to guide us. Our feelings are the GPS. We're almost there.
So close, except for the some people are like ready to blow up the world. Other than that,
well, I mean, we have to kind of blow up the world.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's true.
It's like the Tower card in the tarot, right? Like, it's like, the shit's got to blow up in order to recreate, because the foundation foundation isn't good.
Yeah.
Right. The foundation is predicated on the imbalance of the masculine and feminine. That's got to blow up.
Space Penis Podcast. We still have to do that.
Isn't that what this is?
No, it's PTSD. And there's spaceships. That's like my favorite. That's my favorite. Yes, yeah, it is secretly. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay.
No, you're absolutely right. And I really do think, like, for me, going through that for so many years and then finding my way out of it and then being like, holy shit, I can get out of this.
Yes.
Like what? And then just once you realize that, you're like, I gotta get the fuck out of this. This is not acceptable anymore. I didn't realize there was an out other than death. So
Right.
I'm gonna go with the not death out.
Yes. And we're all grateful that you did.
Me too. It's funny how that works out.
And now you get to shine your light and guide other people through it.
That's what I want. And that's what I want for anybody who feels like that, who doesn't feel they have a purpose. You just don't know it right now.
Everybody alive has a purpose. Literally, everybody alive. This is the work, like, this is what I want to so desperately teach everybody, is that every person alive has a meaning and a purpose and a relevance. Every single person.
Yes.
Otherwise you wouldn't exist.
There would have been no reason for you to. That's another thing we had to talk about. Like, to come down into this plane, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't have a purpose, you wouldn't
be here. Nothing in the world exists without a reason. Nothing. There's nothing that's random.
It's amazing.
I had this conversation with a client yesterday, and I was like, can we get to the fact that the divine, whatever the source is infallible? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so if we can understand that the divine is never made a mistake. It's infallible. That's the whole universe is predicated on that thing, that the universe is infallible. He was like, yeah. And I said, okay, so you exist in this universe. He said, well, sort of. I said, okay, so you exist in this universe, and you're a part of the universe. It is divine. Can we let in that you're not a mistake? And he was like, I don't know. And then I said, so wait a minute, what you're telling me is the infinite divine wisdom of the world, the whatever that being is, decided we're going to create a universe, and also we're going to create you, but you don't matter.
You're the one mistake.
You're the one thing we didn't put effort
Google plexus of galaxies.
And he was just
you're
like,
you're the one mistake.
Exactly. and he really gave him pause, because I was like, can you just let in for that? And he was like, oh, I see where you're going with this. It really was that like life-changing moment of like, you matter too.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yes.
So important for people to know.
It really is so important. And this is my mission. I know it like I know my name. If everybody gets that place, or enough people, what I call the 100th monkey, get to that place, that's how we heal. That's how we change it. Because then we don't come from a lack and scarcity fear place anymore.
It's so funny. The stuff that you talk about becomes more and more obvious to me as I know you. Like, I mean, I sent Robin this little text the other day that was like, some of the stuff you said when I first kind of got into this, up until like a month ago, like I really had doubts. And so I had like a little gif of Arnold, what you talking about, Willis? Like that's just like really literally what my brain, that's actually what I pictured in my brain. Yeah. When you would say things, I was like, I don't know about that. But then you get into it and you're like, oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's actually true.
That's actually true. And everybody else is wrong. Not wrong.
They're not wrong. It's just they're misguided.
Yes.
or like lost. Right? We get this percent, like the demon of the 6th chakra where we all live is illusion. We all kind of live in this illusion place of like our own reality, because nothing happens outside of your energy field. It's all inside your energy field. So we have this like really sullied version of the way reality is. It's illusion. It's all illusion. And
absolutely.
And our job, like Buddha even talked about releasing illusion. And I think that gets sort of bastardized as well. But like, it's really about like not buying into the narrative that there's something wrong or there's broken or things to fix. It's like you get to detach, 7th chakra detachment, from all of the physical reality shit that's not really true. It's
crazy because you grow up and you hear people. I mean, I've always been very interested. Like never really researched it, but I was like, chakras are cool. That's cool. Let's find out what that's all about. That's why I came to that class. Like, I don't know. That sounds awesome. I don't really know what chakra is. It's something to do with energy. And it's like, okay. And then, as we went along in the class, there were definitely moments where I was like, all right, Robin, I'm with you up until a point. But that just sounds, let's see, there was my hole in my armpit, but that just sounds ridiculous.
Right.
And then later on, it's like because you understand it from where the world put you, you know what I mean? Where this massive illusion, let's say, puts you and gives you this idea about things like energy and like celestial planes and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, like, right.
You have at that, sister. You do you. I'm gonna stay over right here with the reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, fairies.
Exactly. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. Well, and that's the world, right? That like,
right.
If you can't show it to me, then it's like, well, if you really think about it, read a couple of these books and you will see.
Right. There's so much more, and our brains lie to us. Because our brains are basically this big giant computer. It's really just this, like, I heard Robert Edward Grant talk about the brain as a radio tower or or like a almost like a Wi-Fi hub. It just is a place to collect information and translate it. It was really fascinating. He's a really amazing guy. But it's true, like our brains are going to lie to us, and so our reality for the first 7 years of our lives is it's completely defined and created by our parents, who are essentially God. That's it.
Yeah, I live or die by you.
Exactly.
Everything.
Literally. So they literally are God to us. So what they say goes, and that goes in as fact. That goes in as like fact. So there's 7 years of your most formative experience as humans on the planet is driven by people who are 100% unconscious.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then we have to do that like impossible work of unwinding all of that stuff by people who were God to us.
It's tough.
It is.
That's not even the word, but yeah, I mean, that's how our brains were literally formed, right? That's how they were wired.
Right.
And it's not until we get older and can think for ourselves that we start questioning. But then even then you have to have someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
You kind of have to have someone who can give you an alternative narrative.
Yes. Because you come up with your own, and it might be good.
Right.
But it might be bad.
But it's also still very, very, very driven by that illusioned sixth chakra.
Right.
The six chakras, how you see the world. It's actually your vision, right? How do you see your place in the world? That's the sixth chakra. And if your place in the world was defined by people who were unconscious, that's what you're going to see. And they tell us all the time that who we are is not okay. Like your parents told you that you being emotional is not okay. My parents told me too loud and too, like, why are you so big? Why are you so loud? Why do you have to be so like so emotional or so, right? Like I got told that all my whole life. So I thought there was something wrong with me because I'm impossible to contain. Do something with this kid.
Which is awesome. I love that about you.
Well, I do too now. I'm the rainbow sheep, right? But like my whole life, I don't fit in a container I don't literally fit in any container. And I was like, well, my whole world is this, and I don't fit this. So there's going to be something wrong with me.
Right.
Similarly, you didn't fit in that very contained, right? You don't fit.
Only this.
Right? Do you remember
this.
Do you remember that scene in Aladdin when the genie goes, phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty living space?
Yes.
That's what the human existence is. That's what we go through.
Seriously, that's so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, that's something people really, and I know a lot of people who get angry at their parents about it. And it's like, they didn't know.
They didn't
Like
know. They had an alien dropped in front of them. And they're like, what do we do with this alien?
this thing does not fit our molds.
Exactly. What the fuck is this? There's no instruction manual. There's nothing. We don't know how to. We don't know how to feed it. We don't know how to change it. And in the 70s, when we like, there was nothing.
So,
There
oh my
wasn't even
God.
car seats.
You know, right? Like we're just on the lap in the front seat of a like bench seat without a seatbelt. Like that was fine.
They just took us home and they're like, well, now what? What do we do with this thing?
Like, why does it keep crying?
Exactly. Right. So, and like they did what their parents did, or they did the opposite of what their parents did. So, like, if I mean, you can get mad at your parents, and I think there is some. I mean, there's sometimes that anger of no more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also think they were human.
Yeah.
And they learned from their parents who were 1,000% unconscious, and their parents who were 100,000% unconscious.
I can't even. My grandmother.
It's just like,
we don't even, that's a whole different episode. Oh man.
yeah.
There's so much to talk about. But you know what? I think we should look. 30 minutes is a good place to wrap these things up.
I feel you. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I think that's a good idea because I know that you and I could go on for like another.
We could talk for hours.
Like, so let's okay. We came to a natural pause in the conversation. Let's let that be it for today.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Everybody else out there, I hope you enjoyed this. I did. Robin's awesome. Oh, go ahead.
So the Chakras of Happiness class.
I was just about to say that. Yes. I'm like,
So
you guys
listen.
keep hearing her.
So the Chakras of Happiness class, just the same class that you just went through, starts again in October. But this time for the first chakra, I'm making the first chakra pay what you can afford. Like I've decided, I sat with this, I got real clear guidance on it. And I just was like, I don't want money to be the reason that someone doesn't take this course. Because it's so needed. It's so needed. So the first chakra leg of the course, we go through each chakra, but the first chakra leg is 6 weeks. It starts October 26th. Oh no, October 20th. It's pay what you can afford. And I mean, I probably put a minimum of like $50, but like whatever it is you can afford, that's what you pay. And I won't make a judgment on it, but that's at least you get the information.
Right. But you have to pay something because otherwise
You have to have skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. But I was just about to say, every time you said chakras, I was like, I don't want to interrupt what we're saying right now, but yeah, no, I went through Robin's chakra 1 class. I'm going through the 2 soon. It's starting. And I cannot tell you how much it's helped me. So if you're out there looking for help, this is the way to go. And even if 2 years down the line, you're watching this, just contact Robin. She's still got some cool shit going on, and find out what she's offering then, because whatever it is, it's worth it.
Thank you.
Lots of hearts. All right, everybody out there, thank you so much. We're gonna do this every Friday.
Do we say every Friday, every other Friday? I don't remember.
We'll
Fridays.
Fridays at 2. Untethered Talk with Robin Thomas at 2:00. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.